What's up? Welcome back to the Disorderly Sports Report podcast. My name is Nick Risner. You can find me on Twitter at Nick Risner, NickRizner. Head over to thedisorderly.com for the best in sports and entertainment. You can find us on Twitter at Disorderly Media and on Facebook at Disorderly ENT. So please, head over all the spots and spread the word about us. So this week, obviously the biggest sports story, I guess. It's definitely the biggest MMA story. It's probably the biggest sports story right now, at least this week, is the return of Conor McGregor. Hasn't fought since 2016. He obviously had the Mayweather fight mixed in, but Conor McGregor is fighting Khabib Nurmagomedov. It's going to be an amazing fight. There's a couple of good fights on that card, actually, but obviously that's the one everyone's talking about. So this week, because I come from this MMA background, I had this, MMA podcast for 4 or 5 years before I did this. I still have all these MMA contacts. So, luckily, one of these contacts, one of the recurring guests from my old show was Javier Mendez. Now, Javier Mendez is the head coach of Khabib Nurmagomedov, also Daniel Cormier, Luke Rockhold, although I found out during this interview, I guess he's spending a little bit less time there. It's like a 90-10 split. So he's Rockhold's coach 10% of the time, but whatever, him too. Cain Velasquez. So he's got this huge slew of champions, former champions, future champions at AKA, American Kickboxing Academy in California. So anyway, I had this contact. I reached out to him, wanted to get the insight on Khabib, how training's going, where his head is at with everything. Obviously, the mental war games with Conor is always interesting. Definitely unique. Definitely one of the only guys who can really, kind of begin the fight days and weeks in advance with his trash talk and with his, mental warfare, basically. So I wanted to get, insights on all that as well. But it was a really good interview. Javier, if anyone who's heard interviews with him or knows just about him in general, he's very open, honest, speaks his mind. You'll hear he's actually very complimentary towards Conor McGregor's ability in the ring. He's not underestimating him in any area, whether it be grappling or striking or whatever. And it was just a good interview. It was interesting to talk to him about that, as well as, the DC, John Jones, Brock Lesnar, that sort of trilogy. More deep cut things as well, but the focus is obviously McGregor versus Khabib. So, I'll throw it to that right now. For the after show, it's going to be just me. I'm just doing a solo one, but I'm going to get into the MLB playoffs right now. I'm watching the Dodgers game. The Brewers just won. Obviously, a weird day with those two tiebreakers, so I'll get into that. A little recap of football. I'm going to be recording it probably while Monday Night Football is going on. So everything outside of Monday Night Football, the entire Sunday, Thursday, I'll talk about that. So that'll all be in the after show. But without further ado, here is Javier Mendez, head coach of Khabib Nurmagomedov. That fight is obviously Saturday, so make sure you check that out. It's gonna be huge. That's what everyone's gonna be talking about in the sporting world and beyond come Monday morning, the water cooler discussion, if you will. So I hope you guys check that out. I hope you enjoyed this interview with Javier Mendez, and I'll catch you after. I appreciate the time. Obviously, this week you have this huge fight coming up with Khabib and McGregor, and we'll get to all that. But I actually wanted to start with Cormier because the latest is that John Jones is back. He's eligible to fight, as soon as October. He wants Cormier. I think Cormier said he's moved past the rivalry. What can you tell me from your perspective about the possibility of DC versus Jones 3?
If it does happen, it ain't happening this year.
Is the next target still Brock Lesnar?
Yes, as far as I know, but there was also another fight DC wanted to take this year at light heavyweight, but, his injury on his hand is not completely healed. So, and DC's been so damn busy. He comes in the gym, out the gym. I mean, he's here today teaching the wrestling, but for the most part, he's been coming in, 1 or 2 days out of the week. Because he's been busy doing a lot of things, and he's not 100% healed. So I don't really have information as to exactly what's going on with him because, as of 3 weeks ago, the plan was to fight at light heavyweight and fight Brock. If things have changed, I don't know because we haven't talked since 3 weeks ago in regards to what he's going to do.
Oh, so by that you mean he's going to take that light heavyweight fight, and then after he defends that belt, then he was going to go fight Brock in heavyweight?
Yeah, the plan was as of 2 weeks ago to fight at light heavyweight, defend the title, then fight that. But since then, I'm sure things are shaken up. Being that I don't know if his hand is completely healed yet, so that's a variable in itself. So, but someone said something about November, Madison Square Garden, and I know for a fact that's not going to happen. He needs more time to lose the weight.
Okay, yeah, I wonder what the UFC does with that, because they're leaving it open right now. The main event slot's open. It feels like the only logical people that would make sense is a Cormier fight at light heavyweight potentially, or John Jones coming back or whatever. But if you're saying Cormier won't be able to make that date, I don't know who you match John Jones against unless it's, I don't know, Gustafsson maybe. But
yeah, that makes sense.
To be, right?
Yeah, it'd have to be Gustafsson. That would be the only logical choice for them to make. It's the perfect fight for them to make. It's the fight that can headline Madison Square Garden above Weidman and Luke. You know, that's from what I see that's available. You know, it's the perfect fight to make that makes sense outside of DC or, you know, fighting somebody. And I know DC's not, because he's not preparing for a fight. He's not stupid enough to take anything, any fight short notice or anything like that. He's the champ. He doesn't need to. He needs proper 8 weeks training camp. And that's exactly what he'll get.
Yeah, it makes sense. And obviously, you just brought it up. Another one of your guys, Luke Rockhold, he's set to rematch Chris Weidman. I would say that's probably his biggest rival. I mean, there's the Bisping rivalry for a while, but when Weidman and Rockhold was really heated up, I feel like that was the matchup at middleweight. You would assume Weidman would have the crowd behind him because it's in his home state of New York, but how's everything going with the preparation for that fight?
Well, Luke trains with Henry Hooft the majority of, I would say, 95% of the time. So I would think it's going good, but I don't really know because I'm not there. He was here for 2 weeks, about 2 weeks ago. So he trained here for 2 weeks. I trained him. He's looking good. But outside of that, I can just go by, you know, what I see on Instagram on him and stuff, and it looks good.
All right, sounds good. And obviously you have a similar situation with Khabib's camp being split, so I want to talk about that. But let's be honest, MMA fans are looking forward to all these fights, obviously. But I think the entire sports world, the one fight they're talking about is, of course, Conor McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. It's for the lightweight championship. It's the return McGregor, who hasn't fought since November of 2016, at least not in MMA. This will be Khabib's fourth fight in the past year. The scale is obviously a little different. How excited are you for the opportunity to have this coaching thing in front of you where you are preparing a fighter for, at least on paper and financially, the biggest fight in the sport's history?
I mean, I'm not going to say I'm excited because I'm not, but I'm looking forward to the challenge. You know, I am looking forward to the challenge, but I don't use the word excitement because I don't really get excited about anything. But the looking forward to the challenge that's ahead of us, yes, I'm looking forward to the challenge. It's a huge challenge. It's Khabib's biggest challenge to date.
Is that almost part of what allows you to have success at this high level? Because you've been involved in so many giant fights, and I feel like tempering that word, like not getting excited and kind of staying even keeled and just going into it like a professional. I feel like that's almost necessary to succeed.
From my perspective, it's extremely necessary that you look at it as not an excitement, but as a challenge, and that way it keeps you in the game. Versus the excitement to me, I think that's more for fans than I think it is for people that actually work. I don't think a fighter is excited to fight somebody so much as they're for.
So I saw an interview in which you really praised Conor's striking ability, calling him a classic striker versus a classic grappler in Khabib, and that matchup is basically as old as the sport itself. I think a lot of people see that fight that way as well. How does your approach change for that kind of fight versus like for example, like a Rockhold and Weidman fight? Their skill sets are more balanced, less specialized in one area versus this one. Is there any sort of change in the preparation?
Well, in this preparation, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, Khabib's improving all the time. Every time he comes into camp, he's a better striker than he was the previous camp. One of the things that's changed drastically within the last 2 years, instead of doing a 1 month camp with us, which is what he used to do in the past, now he's doing 2 months. So I have more time to prepare his striking, to make his striking better. And he also has, now he has someone at home that trains with him at home on the striking too. So he's evolving all the time in that arena. So that's why, you always see different improvements in his game, and people always pick out, oh, he's got this, oh, he's got that. Oh, yeah, because he's still learning. He's still basically, compared to everybody else that's at the highest level where he's at, he's still somewhat new on the striking compared to everybody else, but he's so goddamn good at it now that he handles any striker I have now, no problem. In the past, he'd have problems with some of my strikers. Now he doesn't have any problem with anybody. It's within his weight. Let's be real, right? We're going to go with someone that's way above his weight. Within his weight, he has no problem with any striker, professional boxer, kickboxer that I have, he has no problem with any of them on the striking level, just striking only.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think this is kind of the product of how they promote these things. And I think once you're sort of branded as one kind of fighter, you're just that guy for the rest of his career. Like the day Khabib retires, he'll be the guy who has the wrestling background, even if he does evolve his striking along with it. But does that excite you as a coach to have these, almost like have your guy labeled like that and be like, oh, wait till you see what we're cooking up almost?
No, like you said, the word excitement. No, it's just a challenge for people to.
Yeah, sorry, I keep leaning on that word. My bad.
Yeah, that this guy's evolving. He's evolving. So that's a nice wrinkle to say. Oh, well, hey, look at him here. Oh, well, look at him here. And I mean, in the last fight, what did he throw? A spinning back kick.
Right.
Well, that's the one thing we never even practiced back kick. Look it up. What the hell was that all about? We never even practiced that. You throw that? Yeah, coach, you like? I go, no. You need to make it better. You got to practice that stuff. You just got to throw it. I mean, that's what Khabib is. We have a game plan. We stick to a game plan. As coaches, we stick to a game plan. Khabib, he does what he wants to do. And the thing, and I've always told him, you do whatever you want to do as long as you're winning. Well, guess what? He does what he wants to do. He doesn't do exactly what I ask him to do. But he has never lost a round, so guess what? He's winning, so he's doing what I do ask him to do because he's winning. He's winning.
Yeah,
he's not losing. He's not losing a round. So even though he doesn't listen to the game plan, he's winning, and he does listen to what I told him because I go, as long as you're winning, I don't care. Well, he's winning.
Well, it's good. It's commendable to you as a coach too, to recognize like you have this crazy raw talent. If you bottle him up and have him do exactly what you want all the time, that might hurt him a little bit. You know what I mean? Like obviously he's got these instincts as a fighter that to let him off the leash and kind of let him do whatever he wants to a certain extent. I feel like that's kind of the perfect way to handle that kind of fighter.
Yeah, and that's basically what I'm learning is I tell him what I want. Look, I have a game plan. We have a game plan. We call the ABC, and my plan is A. B is his, and C is whatever, so we have the plans. What he's going to do, he may go C, B, A, or stick to A, or stick to C, or stick to B. I don't know how he's going to fight. I just know that if he's not winning, I wanted to stick to my plan. But like I said, he's never lost a round, so we'll see what happens if that's ever going to happen. See what he does after the fact. For sure.
And we talked about how Khabib, he's going to be labeled a grappler forever. You kind of have that same thing going with McGregor where he's labeled a striker, but I saw that you basically were saying, you're not underestimating his ground game. Obviously, he trains under Kavanaugh, is a pretty good jiu-jitsu practitioner. So I know you're preparing for everything, but do you think the fans are almost underestimating Conor's ability in the grappling?
Yeah, I think so. I think everybody's underestimating Conor's grappling, but us coaches, we don't. I'm not underestimating that guy. He's a great fighter, man. There's a reason why he's one of the GOATs. There is a reason. There is a reason why he's a two-time champion. So I'm not sleeping on him. He didn't get there by just being a striker. Yeah, right. Whatever. He's a stud, man. That's all there is to it. As a fighter, you have nothing but respect for him, and my challenge, is to beat what he has, and we've been working on it, and I feel we have it. But come October 6th, we'll find out, right? But definitely much respect for how great he is. If I underestimated him, then that's bad on me, and I'm not underestimating how great he is. But Khabib's better. Sorry, but that's just the way it is.
What did you think of the UFC 229 press conference? I mean, the antics are obviously to be expected at this point, but where do you land with all that? Is it entertaining for you at all? Does it annoy you? Do you not really care about it? Where do you land on that?
Oh, I was very interested, and I wanted to see if Conor was going to hit all the points that I thought he would, and he did. All the no-nos. He doesn't give a F, and he should, but he doesn't, and I'm not mad about it, but it's like, first of all, family. I mean, other fighters, keep family out of it. Don't bring a family in. If they're not involved in it, why bring them in? Number one. Number two, politics. Don't bring politics in the fight game. Who gives a F about politics? This is a fight game, And number three, religion. Same thing. It's the two people fighting in that cage. Conor brought all three with vengeance, and I personally think he should have just stayed away from that. That's his business. That's who he is. But Khabib isn't going to play that. He's not going to bring those into play. He's just going to, what we told him is, I said, look, if you're not willing to engage in the kind of warfare he is, then the best thing I want you to do is I want you to remain calm, and if anything, smile. And that's what he did at the press conference. He just smiled. You know, comment, man, if Khabib would have tried to get into a real heated conversation with Conor would have drowned him out like he did already. He wouldn't even let him talk. He was speaking nonsense, you know, and then he was trying to get Khabib agitated by hitting key points about the dad, you know, the religion. Here, have a drink. I mean, you know, come on, you know, he knows. He's a mastermind at those games. But it didn't work. It didn't work. It did not work. Did not work, you know. But he tried like how to make it work. Khabib did perfect. He did what we wanted him to do, which was do nothing.
Yeah, I was talking to some friends, you know, just after that was over about it, and I think it's funny too because, you know, this is such a big fight that people who don't watch MMA are interested in this fight. It has that feel to it. A lot of McGregor fights do now, honestly, but with talking to friends who are not as familiar with it, I think they're seeing Khabib for the first time on this stage, and they're like, whoa, this guy's like, I think what he has going for him is almost like this aura of mystery. So that quiet and smile thing is almost more intimidating than if he was to engage and try to trash talk with him.
Yeah, because let's face it, Khabib's not a trash talker. He's an intelligent individual. He's an intelligent talker, but he's not a trash talker. So if you're not going to trash talk, we talked about this 2 months out. I said, look, man, if you're not going to trash talk with him, then the best thing to do is smile, make jokes, do this. Do not involve yourself with him then if you don't want to. Because he didn't want to. He goes, Coach, that's not my style. I don't want to do that. And I said, okay, then you shouldn't be anybody that you're not. You know, that is who Conor is, though. So, you know, more power to him, you know. But again, that's not the way I would have approached it. I mean, I would have found other things of interest rather than picking the 3 no-nos.
Yeah, no, for sure. And obviously, they got their sound bites, they got their promotional sort of fuel for the fight, and that's the whole point of those press conferences. So I think on both ends, it was definitely entertaining. It was fun, but you know, this thing obviously it all extends from this infamous, you know, bus incident in which Conor broke into the Barclays Center, threw a dolly at the bus that was carrying Khabib and a number of other fighters. How do you feel about just like the UFC? I mean, I personally don't care that much, but there's been people falling on both sides of this. How do you feel about the UFC using that incident as promotional material for the fight? On one hand, it is the backstory of the fight, but on the other hand, you know, there's some fighters. I think Mikkel Chiesa is suing the UFC. Rose Namajunas is still affected by it. So I mean, it was a crazy day. How do you feel about the UFC's usage of it?
I think that the UFC has every right to use it, and I think they should have used it because that's the storyline. I think good or bad, that people are going to like it, people are not going to like it. That is the storyline. There's the interest. There's the reason why they want to fight each other. Why aren't you showing the reason why you guys actually want to get at each other now? No, that to me, whether I'm, you know, I know friends that don't like it. I know friends that like it. It's the storyline. You know, you got to show the storyline, and that's a big part of the storyline. So, no, the UFC to me is like big thumbs up for using something that's real. It's not made up. It's real. It happened. You know, and that creates, you know, more of an interest. You know, and you want to call it whatever you want to call it, but that's promotion. You got to promote the fight. You know, if people don't come to watch, then how good are you as a promoter? Yeah,
no, it's exactly where I fall on it. I think it's perfectly fair use. I guess I understand people complaining about it, but it's Dana White, he addressed it at the press conference. He was like, that's the story of this fight. We're telling the narrative behind this fight, so I'm fine with it as well. What are your memories from that day? Because it was crazy. It was such a crazy. I mean, back then I was writing for a pure MMA site, and I mean, I was at work and I literally like left work to just write up all these stories because things were developing so fast. It was so crazy. What are your memories from that day?
Well, I don't go to those things. Whenever it comes to media stuff, I just stay away. If Khabib doesn't need me, I don't go. Any of my fighters, Kane, Luke, DC, they don't need me. I don't go. So you don't hardly ever see me at those things. Unless they want me there, then I'm there. So I never go. So I wasn't there. I was in my room. My son Jeremy says, Dad, you know, Conor attacked Khabib's bus where he was at. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, yeah, he threw a dolly at the bus. It's a big thing. I'm like, what? So I get on the phone. I call Khabib. I go, Khabib, where you at? You okay? He goes, yeah, coach. He's real calm. I'm like, where you at? He goes, I'm in my room. I said, okay, I'm coming down. So I come down to his room. Man, there was like 50 plus people in his room. I'm like, holy crap. You know, so I'm like, what happened? He goes, oh, coach, he goes, Conor attacked the bus. They wouldn't let me out. I tried to come out. They held me back. I didn't want to be in the bus, you know, and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, and I said, well, you know what I would have done if I was in the bus? I go, he goes, no, what, coach? I go, I would have held you back too. I go, you don't need to be involved in that stuff. That's stupid. But coach, it's like I didn't like being in the bus. I go, doesn't matter. I would have made you stay. That was the right call. You couldn't go outside. It just makes it worse. I go, so he wasn't fazed by it at all. He's used to that. His lifestyle in Dagestan as kids growing up. I mean, and you do something, you slap me, my brother's gonna come slap you. So Conor, basically his younger brother, got slapped by Khabib for saying stupid things about Khabib, and he had to answer for it. Khabib met him in person and talked to him, and and hey, what are you gonna do now? And then Conor hears about it, rightfully so. That's what happens, right? Everybody defends each other. Conor defended the honor of Artem, which, okay, that's fine. I mean, he did it wrong, but that was fine that you defended the honor. You just shouldn't have done what you did. Should have found another way of doing it, Like Khabib said, meet me 10 on 10, 1-on-1, whatever. But just, why involve other people they don't need to be involved? Involve Khabib and his people. You know what I mean? And so that's the only thing. And then like I said, I got there, man, everybody was there. All the people, Renzo Gracie, all those guys were there talking to Khabib. And Khabib was so calm. He was like, no big deal. It's like nothing to him.
I was going to say, going back to the sort of mysterious aura of Khabib and just this calm demeanor he's had basically throughout his career, like that should surprise me that you just said that, but it doesn't at all. Like I almost expected. I mean, because you're seeing all these cell phone videos and stuff, so you don't actually see what's going on inside the bus really. But I'm not like surprised at all really that Khabib is just like, yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm in the hotel room, like just chill. Like, which is crazy. That's not a normal human reaction, but he's obviously not a normal human. He's great at what he does.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it didn't faze him at all, bro. He wasn't fazed at all. Hey, I'm gonna get in my car. So there might be a slight disconnect, but call you right back, okay? But just so we'll keep talking. But anyways, no, Khabib is very strong. His father taught him right, and not just as a fighter, but as a human being, and a person, and Khabib handles himself accordingly. He's a great human being. It's crazy, we even had people come here from everywhere around the world just to meet him, and they only get to meet him a minute or so. We requested people to come with him, meet outside the gym. He doesn't want them in the gym because it's disrupting his training way too much. Basically has them stay outside, and they wait outside. Some people even sign up memberships just so they can be around him. It's nuts. Freaking nuts.
Do you agree with his comment about being basically the Floyd Mayweather of MMA? I know that was it wasn't like a planned statement. He just responded back, but there are a lot of similarities just in their career so far, I think. Not okay. Personality, really, but no, record.
But in regards to records, it comes to records. You can honestly say that because he hasn't lost a fight. He hasn't lost a round, and he hasn't lost a round. So, and Floyd Mayweather is to me, Floyd Mayweather is the greatest or one of the greatest, So at the present time, because he's the only undefeated fighter, I get not in regard to trash talking, not in regard to their style, but just in the regards to being undefeated and dominant.
For sure. And what are you anticipating in terms of atmosphere on October 6th? Because Khabib's competed on cards with McGregor before, obviously never against him, but what the rowdy Irish fans are like. Khabib is going to have a big swell of supporters as well. You kind of just touched on that. I just feel like the volume in that arena is going to be off the charts. Is there any level of preparation that goes into that aspect of the fight?
No, you can't prepare for that craziness. You just got to get used to it, but you can't really prepare for it. Like, I'll give you for instance, this Friday, I believe a bunch of fans are coming to wish him well. It's probably going to be over 100 people coming to my gym. And just shouting support for him. It's unfreaking believable. I've never had that. And you know what? It's the same thing with Conor. I've never seen so many people go crazy for Conor like they do. So you got two people that are contrast of each other. They're totally different. One's the rich, lifestyle and fancy cars and this and that, and the fathers too. I think McGregor's father is the same thing. He's flamboyant and dressy suits and this and that. Khabib's father's more subdued, more polite. More not as outspoken. very confident and the whole bit, So it's kind of like two opposites, from father and son type thing. And for me, I just thought of that today because I looked at Conor McGregor's father's Instagram, and it was kind of cool to see him wearing the red suit and the whole bit and having fun the whole bit. So it's kind of cool, It's kind of cool.
I mean, that makes fights, right? You have the grappler versus striker. You have the two different styles and backgrounds and all this stuff, and obviously both have a huge swell of support behind them. So it's kind of the perfect picturesque matchup. It's going to be exciting. I mean, obviously this is on pace to shatter the pay-per-view record and all that. So it's going to be crazy. But I think those kind of opposites is almost like what gets you interested in a fight.
Yeah. Now this is definitely one of those deals where pay-per-view records will be shattered. By how much, I don't know, but they're definitely going to get shattered because, you got two great fighters. It's not one great fighter, two great fighters, and they're going to collide. This is kind of like in the boxing terms, like the Joe Frazier versus Muhammad Ali, George Foreman versus Muhammad Ali, Mayweather versus Pacquiao and Mayweather versus Canelo type, so this is the same type of vibe, it's two greats, that are going to square off.
Absolutely, man. I obviously appreciate the time. I can't wait for this fight. I meant to ask you about AKA Thailand. It's still one of the coolest training facilities I've ever seen. I had the chance to interview Mike Swick when it first opened up, but how's everything going over there these days?
Oh, he's doing great. I mean, he just recently had what is that? Ignite founder Dan Bilzerian or something like that. The modern day Hugh Hefner. That's how popular AK Thailand is. That you have big giant celebrities going down there and spending time with Mike Swick. So Mike Swick is doing an incredible, unbelievable marketing job. And celebrities like that would come visit. And he has more. A lot of celebrities come down there, and it's doing fantastic. Mike Swick has worked his ass off to make it what it is now, and I'm very proud, to call him a friend and a partner.
Well, that's great, man. There's always so much going on with you guys. I'm sure we'll have you on again soon. But that's all I have for you today. Best of luck with the last week of training camp. Of course, the fight, Khabib versus Conor, October 6th. It's going to be an amazing night. I feel like that's an understatement, but it's going to be amazing. I can't wait for it as a fan. And we'll talk to you soon, man.
All right. We'll talk to you soon, buddy. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yep. Take it easy.
All right. Bye.
Bum, 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 bum.
All right. Welcome to the after show. Thank you to Javier Mendez, by the way. That was his Disorderly debut. As I said, he'd been on the podcast, my previous podcast before, but nice to have him on, especially this week, because this week's it's a big week in Javier Mendez's life and in American Kickboxing Academy's life or whatever, existence. And they've had a lot of big fights. You can make the argument that DC is one of the best fighters of all time now. You can make the argument that Cain Velasquez is the greatest heavyweight of all time, or at least in that discussion. They've had some big fights. A lot of people say that Khabib is one of the best fighters of all time, but there's never been a fight of this scale, not in Javier Mendez's life. I mean, ever. There just never has been. This is going to shatter the pay-per-view record. It's going to break all sorts of records. People are going to be talking about it. It's just massive. So to have him on, this week was pretty cool. It was a good get for us. But so I'm thankful for him. Please buy that pay-per-view, guys. It's live on pay-per-view, 10 o'clock on Saturday, and at least on the East Coast. And it's going to be great. So definitely buy that. Switching gears, though, let's get into baseball. So the regular season's come and gone. First of all, let me talk about the weirdness of this situation that we're in. So we knew it was going to be close in the National League. The NL Central and the NL West were very, very closely contested. It was really a 5-team race. Obviously, maybe not obviously if you're not following us closely, but St. Louis Cardinals were the last ones to kind of get booted out. And it happened on Saturday. So it was very, very close. They almost made the cut. They almost made a wild card spot. Didn't quite make it, so they're out, right? Now, the other situation you have in the NL Central and NL West was that the top two teams were tied with each other on the last day of the season. So what that creates, and they don't, how a lot of sports like football, whatever, the NFL, they'll do these elaborate tiebreakers where it's like division record and then points for, and there's all these different tiers, so you never actually have a tie. In baseball, if the records are tied, that's it. There's no more discussion about it. What they do when it's tied is automatically go into this one-game playoff type deal. Now, it's technically counts as a regular season game, so you have the regular season rosters Whatever regular season, whatever differences there are in rules between regular season and postseason, this is a regular season game. So that's what we had. Except there's more umpires for some reason. So I don't know why they did that. But anyway, what happens is whoever wins this game, there's two of these because there were two ties, but I'll get into those in a second. But whoever wins this tiebreaker game wins the division, right? So that they'll get guaranteed the 5-game series, whatever. Whoever loses is in the wild card game, that one game plan they do before the actual playoffs start, right? So in this situation, and the most interesting one that I'll start with is the Chicago Cubs and Milwaukee Brewers, because they were also the best team in the National League. So they were tied for the best record in the NL, the entire NL. So whoever wins that game wins the division and also has the best record in the National League. So they have home field advantage throughout the playoffs, right? Which that's not crazy, right? That's normal. But whoever loses that game is relegated to this one-game wild card game. So you either are the best record and in the best possible position you can be in for the playoffs, or you're in pretty much the worst. Now, the loser will have home field advantage in that wild card game, so there's an advantage there to having a good record. But it's so crazy that one little slip up, all of a sudden you're not sitting pretty anymore. Now you're in this really dangerous situation where you might have one game left and then the season's over. So that's crazy that the margin of error is that small for such a massive difference in results and really your World Series hopes. I mean, you could win from a wild card spot, but it's obviously not ideal. It's harder. So yeah, that was a very good game. It was 1-1 for a little bit there, and then the Brewers just blew the door off the place and ended up getting the victory. So the Brewers are interesting because first of all, Yelich is incredible. He's one of the best players I've ever seen play. The Cubs seem to have more age, which sometimes that plays in your favor for the playoffs because you have that experience. You have people who have been there before. But the Brewers, not that they don't have veterans too, because they do, but something about this youthful Brewers team, I don't know, I'm excited about them. I feel like they're a really fun team to watch. I think they have the talent to back it up and make a deep playoff run, so it'll be interesting. But I do think that the Brewers, even though it took a big Cubs collapse to lose that division and get relegated to the wild card spot, they had a pretty bad September. I think the Brewers are the real deal, and I think that they could make a deep postseason run. Once again, I know there's not a hot take because they have literally the best record in baseball, or tied with the Cubs. Technically, they have the better record now after this game, but the Brewers are legit. I'd be worried about them. And we'll get to this, but I'm pretty sure whoever wins the American League is going to win the World Series. I'd be surprised if the National League walked away with the championship this year, but I don't know. We'll see. But I think the Brewers could be there. I think they could be in the World Series for sure. The other game was the Rockies versus the Dodgers. This is less dramatic, I'd say. I think the Dodgers really controlled this thing, had control of it, and ended up getting a 5-2 victory. So the Dodgers are going on to be the NL West champions, and the Rockies are now in that wild card spot. They'll obviously be traveling to Chicago, so you have the Rockies versus Chicago, and Chicago will host. And that game's tomorrow. That's the other crazy thing. This is going on. These people are competing for basically the not their playoff chances. Whoever loses still plays, right? I mean, that's what we're talking about right now. But you're really leaving it all on the line to try to win the division and try to get that guaranteed 5-game series. And then if you lose, which happened obviously to the Rockies and the Cubs, now they have to play each other in this ultra important 1-game play-on just to get into a 5-game series. It's ridiculous. And actually, what's even more interesting is I think if the Cubs win this wild card game, they're right back into facing the Brewers. So you could have potentially this weird sort of 6-game series with some random wild card game in the middle, but every game is important, and it's just wild. The fact that the standings were so close at the end of this thing, I mean, we've honestly never seen anything like it in baseball. So it's very interesting to have all these things go on in the NL. The American League's been short up for a while. Division winners are the Red Sox, the Cleveland Indians, and the Houston Astros. That's been the deal for a while. Some drama in the AL West, but not really. It kind of went away. And there was a brief race between the Oakland A's and the New York Yankees to see who would have home field advantage in this wild card game. But the Yankees, they made their statement. They won 2 out of 3 this weekend against the Red Sox. And they got home field. So the wild card game will be in the Bronx. That game will be on Wednesday, and the winner will face the Red Sox in a 5-game ALDS. We'll obviously be covering the entire playoff run for the entire league right here on the site. I'll be talking about it in the podcast for the month of October as well. So lots of baseball coverage coming from us, but I'm very excited. And this is the first time I've ever done a weekly column where I was covering, Major League Baseball, obviously with a slant towards the Red Sox because that's my team and that's kind of the brand we're going for. It's not just pure journalism. It's fans talking. Now, I try to be fair, too. So the MLB coverage was very fair and split. I would just do a little blog about the Red Sox at the beginning. But just because that's how it works, I'll probably be focusing more on the Red Sox throughout October, assuming they don't get knocked down in the first round again. But we'll be covering it all. So there you go. Switching now to football, the Denver Broncos and Kansas City Chiefs are about to play. I'm recording this at 7:50. Right before Monday Night Football starts. So I'm excited for that. It's going to be a very good game. Obviously, I don't know what happens by the time you're listening to this, by the time I'm recording. But it's a good game. I'd be interested. It's so stupid of me right now. I know it. I'm still going to do it. I'm going to plow ahead with it. But it's so dumb for me to make predictions or tell you guys what I think is going to happen, even though you'll be hearing it after. Still trying to figure out scheduling things with this, but I will say I'm excited for Von Miller versus Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes has been probably the best quarterback in the league throughout the first 3 games. I think people are already talking about MVP potential for him, so he's been killing it. But Von Miller is the best in the world at what he does, and he's going to put Mahomes under pressure. And I'm also playing Mahomes in fantasy this week. I mean, I'm playing against him, so I mean, let's go Von Miller. So, the Cowboys won. I don't know how that happened, but the leader of that division right now is the 2-1 Washington Redskins. Cowboys and Eagles are both 2-2. The Giants are, 1-3 maybe? I think they're 1-3. So, still a disaster. Game-winning drive by Dak. I appreciated that. It was nice to see. I'm still not sold on him. It was literally one play, but it was to Zeke too, which is weird. Dropped it over Zeke's shoulder. It was a perfect play. Perfect play. The rookie kicker, the one that they moved on from Dan Bailey for, he ended up doing very well as well. So all good things. It's literally they fixed all the things that people were complaining about, but it's one game. You got to do it consistently to silence the critics, so to say. And I don't know. I'm still hoping Romo comes back. By the way, I saw this the other day. Well, 2 things. One, I saw that Romo was going to be announcing the Super Bowl. So cue all the texts from my friends that are going to come pouring in about how Romo's finally going to the Super Bowl and he's doing it in the booth and whatever. There's going to be memes. It's going to suck. Whatever. I'm used to it. The other thing I'll say is I saw the NFL films A Football Life featuring Tony Romo. I thought it was great. They obviously spent a lot of time talking about the Dez Bryant catch. He caught it. That's the big final point. It's interesting because Dez obviously was watching too because he just tweeted out #Dez caught it. That's actually how I remember that this film was on because I remember seeing commercials for it or maybe Romo posted it on Instagram or something, and I saw Dez tweet that, and I was like, why did he just tweet that? And I was like, oh shit, that documentary's on tonight, and that's how I remembered. So it was good. I mean, I'm a Romo fan, so you might not enjoy it as much as I did, but I thought it was great. Mitch Trubisky for the Bears threw 6 touchdowns in the first half, I guess, but technically, I mean, I think I saw it was 25 minutes, so it's basically just a little bit over 1 quarter, which is ridiculous. So I had to shout that out too. And then the update on the 3-0 Dolphins versus the 1-2 Patriots. Patriots fans seem confident because they just have no history pointing to the fact that they're going to lose. And I think a lot of people went into this thinking that despite the records, it was going to at least be competitive. I think the Patriots were still favored by 7 points going into this, despite the records. So it's just, at the end of the day, things sort of settle out, and the Patriots are the Patriots, and the Dolphins are the Dolphins, and the Patriots blew them out of the water. Just dominated it. One of my friends, gigantic Patriots fan, it was her birthday this weekend, so I guess she deserves it. I don't know. I have a weird alliance to Patriots fans because I live in the East, right? So if you're not a Patriots fan, then you're probably a fan of one of my rival teams. You're probably a fan of the Eagles or the Redskins or the Giants, and I have to hear shit from them all the time, and especially the Giants fans. And I think there's always this weird, sort of uneasy alliance between me and the Patriots fans because, well, first of all, we haven't been a threat to them since they've been good. I think that he would lose some of that if for example, you have the situation with the Eagles, right? Like, I don't think the Patriots fans had a problem with the Eagles. They might now because of the Super Bowl, so that's how these things sort of shake out. But I don't see the Cowboys and the Patriots crossing each other's paths in the Super Bowl anytime soon. Let's put it this way. I'd rather take the conflict. I'd rather be the Giants and be competing against the Patriots in these Super Bowls. Obviously, we don't have the opportunity, but the good thing that shakes out from that is that I have a weird alliance to Patriots fans. So I'm happy for them, I guess. I do think that fan base needs some humility. It's not their fault, but I'd just be very interested to see when they come crashing down and inevitably have a run of 10 years where they're terrible, because that's what happens in football, right? Like, the best teams don't stay the best. The worst teams don't stay the worst. A lot of turnover in football. The Patriots dynasty they already built is pretty much unprecedented already. But when they are inevitably bad, how many of these diehard super vocal Patriots fans will still be diehard super vocal Patriots fans? I think a lot of them are going to drop out. The ones that don't, props to them, but I think a lot of them are going to drop out. So we'll see how that all shakes out. I'm trying to think what else there's to talk about. Oh, the USA got their doors blown off in the Ryder Cup. So a lot of people blaming Jim Furyk. I love Jim Furyk, so I'm not even going to entertain the storyline. It might be his fault. I didn't really look into it that much, but I love Jay Fury, the face of 5 Hour Energy. Or he was, anyway. I don't know. I always thought he was a funny spokesman because he's a very, subdued, kind of boring guy in the game. There's energy drink sponsorship. So that's it, guys. I'm out of here. That'll wrap up the 5th episode of the Disorderly Sports Report podcast. We're obviously doing a ton of stuff. If you're looking at the feed, I'm sure you see a lot of it, but there's movie reviews, full spoiler movie reviews. I do a television companion podcast right now. I'm working on Maniac, so we're doing that in 3 parts, the Netflix original series that has Emma Stone, Jonah Hill, and we're doing a 3-parter. So part 1's out now. You can listen to that. It's episode 1 through 3. I'm going to do episode 4 through 6, and then finish it out with part 3, which will be episode 7 through 10. That'll cover the whole miniseries. Spoiler alert, I love it. So tune in and hear why I love it and what I love about it. But yeah, I'd highly recommend Maniac. It's the perfect sort of, it's a weird one. Actually, I'll say this. You should watch the trailer. It's one of the better put together trailers that I've seen in a long time. That's what got me excited for it. And I think the show delivered as well. So that's why I'm even going out of my way to recommend it now. But watch the trailer, watch the show, and then listen to our companion podcast and enjoy it along with us. And that's it. I'm going to watch some Monday Night Football. Very excited for it. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. I hope you watch that fight. And I rarely announce future guests because you never know when they're going to fall through. But this one I recorded with, so I know I have it unless, something happens where my file gets corrupted or whatever. Next week, we'll have Justin Wren on the podcast. If you're unfamiliar with Justin Wren, he is one of the most amazing people probably on the planet. The things he's done, I would say go listen to his first appearance on Joe Rogan. He's coming back on again. You'll hear when we talk about it, but he's been on Joe Rogan a bunch of times. He's one of Rogan's buddies. He's from the MMA world, but then he left to go try to solve the clean water crisis in the Congo and provide these enslaved people with clean water. He's buying them land too, so they don't have to be slaves anymore. He's had malaria like 3 times, I think. He's got a great book called Fight for the Forgotten. That'll all be next week. We'll talk to him next week. And he's a great interview, really. So I think you guys will really enjoy that episode as well. And then otherwise, we're just chugging along, trying to book more guests and keep churning these things out every week. By the way, I'm not abandoning the whole after show concept of having my buddies over and talking about that. I still like doing that, but schedules, obviously. So when time is permitting, I'll do those. And when it's not, I'll just talk about it myself. So you're stuck with me. But that's it. Let's do the plugs. Go to thedisorderly.com for the best in sports and entertainment. Tons of good stuff there. Nate Zielinski's been doing a lot of writing for us. He's been on this podcast a bunch of times. David St. Martin, it's obviously his baby. This is his site. And I do a bunch of stuff over there too. I did a Lil Wayne album review this past weekend and all sorts of stuff. I'm always doing stuff for The Disorderly. You can find us on Twitter at Disorderly Media. You can find us on Facebook at Disorderly ENT. My name is Nick Risner. You can find me on Twitter at Nick Risner, NickRizner. And that'll do it. Enjoy your week. I'll see you guys next week. Peace.